Cool. We are live. Awesome. So we are looking at issue number 156, which is the meeting issue for website redesign. Let's dive right in. So first thing on the list here is issue number 155 in website redesign repo. This is for CFP for Collab Summit is live. So we have an opportunity at the Collab Summit to have a breakout session where we get to meet in person and hang out and chat for any and all folks who are going to be over in Berlin for the Collab Summit. I guess quick show of hands of people on the call who's actually gonna be there at Collab Summit. I see 1, 2, 3. No, Ahmad?
Yeah, I can't show my hand, but me too.
Oh, okay, awesome. Even better. Cool.
I was thinking of joining you folks there, but I think I ended up missing the visa deadline.
That's pithy.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like we'll have a good enough crew there to warrant sitting down and chatting in person. I'm hoping by then there'll be a lot more activity on pages other than the Learn page, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I guess let's have a few minutes of just kind of open discussion. Like, can you think of any good like focuses or topics right now, or are we a little too? Should we just hold the place and we're a little too far out to know exactly what the session will look like? Thoughts, ideas, comments?
I think one possible thing to discuss, and this is just me throwing an idea into the pool that we'll eventually probably pick from later. The way website redesign picked up pace, it was interesting to see how the pace changed the dynamic of our typical open source work. It might be worth exploring and seeing if there were any workarounds that we needed to do that modified our typical process and made sure everyone was able to get the work done while like still operating within the constraints of open source and the time zone difference, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. So just kind of a check-in to see if we're still functioning well, even though we picked up the pace, right? Still functioning well. Awesome. Yeah. So what do you think that type of sync would look like? Just making sure we're meeting times are still going well and we have everybody who's interested in all collaborators are able to attend. And so here I see that recap of the process so far. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good opportunity to onboard new folks.
I would say it will be also cool to do some sort of, I don't know, workshop maybe to get new people on board. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, Gatsby and React, well, if you don't know nothing about React, it's of course a bit difficult to get in. But just web development is not as sophisticated as C++. I mean, if you do a small workshop and just help people a bit, maybe we can motivate them and earn them as contributor.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good idea. I mean, if we have a good roadmap for extra work, like just onboarding folks is probably one of the best things we can do. Yeah, and in the process, maybe improve onboarding documentation. Awesome. Well, we'll at least submit the CFP, and I guess we'll write it generically enough that we can figure out exactly what it looks like. But it seems like people are interested in kind of a more public, like open session for recalibration and onboarding. So we'll frame it in that sense.
We should, of course, prepare maybe some small issues so that people can work on it, because just showing me around a bit, it's not that motivating, I guess, for people. But if some of the people there can, I don't know, solve some issues and implement small features, I think it's really quite motivating thing to do. And also that's the best place where we can meet motivated people who can potentially work on the Node.js dev
We're likely to see an audience of people who are already in the project, as it's the Collaborator Summit. So if we were to structure a sort of workshop if we were to structure a session where we would get people to onboard, we can assume that they're somewhat familiar with the project already, and we can focus on our specific implementation of the website and just how to get set up and running, how to run tests, and how to put in your first PR. I remember one of the first sessions I was in, people told me how to use, I think when you're committing to Node, instead of running the whole suite of tests, you run a specific command and it just runs the test in one part. That was, I don't think, documented very easily, and that's the sort of thing that people find useful.
Also, depending on the audience that we have, it might be helpful to chat, if we haven't done so already by then, about how we are, about how we're planning to rethink API docs. That's going to be kind of the meatiest change that we probably hope to make. And the first pass will likely just be a kind of a reskin of the current static pages, but there's a whole lot more we can do there. But that involves changes in core, and it involves changes in how we're storing information on API docs to begin with. So it's going to be a much larger conversation. If we can probably see how the conversation goes during the on-site event, but that seems very meaty to me and worth a sit-down discussion.
Hey Adam, that was actually my interest in joining this call.
Really? Awesome.
Some of you I've met before, some I haven't. Hello everyone. I basically haven't been working on Node.js for the last few months, but back the last time we had the Collaborator Summit in Berlin, I was working on getting internationalization and localization set up for the API docs. So we basically got a whole integration set up with this third-party service called Crowdin, and we have a repo and some automation that pulls the website documentation out of Node.js/Node and translates it into a bunch of different languages. And where we ended up kind of stalling out was designing an NPM module that could be consumed by the new website. And we never really got to a point where we came up with what we might want that API to look like, and how the new website would want to consume localized API documentation. So I just wanted to drop in and first say, sorry, I haven't been working on it for a long time. I know it's kind of probably on the back burner, but I'm still interested and still curious to hear if folks have new thoughts on how best to kind of consume those docs in different languages. That might be something for another call, but just thought I'd pop in and see if we could discuss it.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for joining, Zeke, and I hope we'll see you in here more, because translations are going to be a huge part of a huge infrastructure concern moving forward. And we'd love to, we have to leverage all the work that you and the IATN team have done to get it flowing to really succeed at it. So yeah, we kind of have a need to talk about that right now. This is an infrastructure point that I'd like to get fixed sooner rather than later, since we already have a whole bunch of textual content in the repo. Rather than spin off on a tangent on this, I think this probably warrants its own sit down discussion about with this as the core focus.
Sure.
Where do you think the best venue for that would be? Is the ITN group meeting regularly, or?
No, there's not really anything going on. I think Ben Mitchell was kind of running that for a while, but then he got a full-time job, and I think it's kind of just petered out. But I think we're still definitely interested in helping, but we need to figure out how to give the project enough legs that it can continue moving without a few specific individuals being kind of responsible for keeping it alive. So what I would like to do is just get to a point where we have a contract or like an agreement between the website folks and the I18N folks about how that data moves back and forth from repo to repo, whether it's a sub module.
Uh-oh.
Am I alone? Hello.
No.
No.
Froze for me too.
Oh no.
We lost you, Zeke.
A discussion specifically around.
There we go.
The conversation started again. Sorry, did I cut out?
Yeah, you cut out a little bit in there.
Just
okay.
I think we got the gist though. Yeah, we should totally do that. I mean, it would probably behoove everybody on this call to have an understanding of how that I18N workflow works. So I'd like to get a brain dump from you on the current infrastructure and where all the data currently flows, and then what the ideas what the ideas were for how to publish this and how to share this, and then maybe we can come up with that data contract that we'd like to see to be able to integrate with it best.
If we don't yet have a defined spec sheet or data contract, maybe it just makes sense to have this separate meeting be about that and include I18N in the process, because that would be a core part of how we do define that as a whole. And that way that meeting could continue on its own cycle until it was defined, with as much input as necessary from I18N and anyone else who has a stake in defining that data contract.
Yeah, I remember
That sounds good.
This might have just dropped to the wayside. I remember us wanting to have a spin out meeting specifically for I18N, and like I'd love to jump on that call. I'm sure a bunch of other people here would love to chat about that. And hey, look, Zeke, you actually have an issue open in website redesign for I18N. Nice.
Is this issue 76?
Issue 76, yeah. So let's, we're a little off the rails here on agenda, so I'd like to bring it back in, but those in favor of having a spin-off meeting to like specifically get an I18N deep dive? Yay, nay, speak now, forever hold your peace. Cool. Zeke, can I commission you to get that when is good sent out, or doodle sent out, and we can get that extra meeting going? If it doesn't happen before next website redesign meeting, we can maybe commandeer that.
Yeah, that sounds great. And how frequently do the website redesign meetings happen? Every 2 weeks?
Yep, every 2 weeks, this time on Thursdays. So we'd love to see you in here more often, because there's a whole bunch of stuff happening, and the more active, happy, and engaged folks we have, the better, right? So yeah, it would probably be, since we typically have a good amount of stuff to talk about here anyway, like the specific spin out meeting for talking shop would probably be helpful if we can get it set up for next week. Otherwise, we can talk about our next meeting.
All right, sounds good.
Awesome. Okay, bringing us back in.
As we move on, I want to say welcome to two more people who joined since the start of the meeting, Hassan and Maida. Welcome to the meeting.
Welcome. Yeah, actually, and I believe, is it both of your first times actually going into the meeting? Yeah.
Hello,
Want to do
thank
a quick hello and introduction?
I'm Maida, if I can go on with my intro first. Okay, I'm Maida, and I had a very insightful chat with Adam, I guess, a couple of days ago. And I guess 2 weeks earlier, I got about your outreach program of the Node.js community. And I was very much interested, since I've been doing similar activities for the WordPress for the last 10 years. And Adam and the entire team seemed super welcoming to me, and I am super excited to collaborate on this project with all you folks, and looking forward to your guidance and help and support.
Awesome. It's so good to have you here. Definitely. And
okay, hello. Hello. Am I on? I'm excited. I'm excited to be part of this meeting. I learned about the web design group some times back, and I've not really gotten a chance to come on the meeting. Until recently, we were discussing about I-18, and I saw it's something that has actually picked up in the group, and I picked interest in being part of this awesome group. So at least focus on the I-18 and the API arrangements. I am really happy about that. Thank you for having me. And
yeah, well, it's so good to have you too, and welcome to the meeting. And definitely, yeah, keep an eye out for that spin-off I-18 meeting coming up next week, hopefully, if you're interested in that. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Excited to get the data flowing for that.
All right.
Cool. Let's bring it back in. We're still on issue number 1. We were talking about issue number 155. Got off on a I-10 spin-off conversation. But looping back in and just closing the loop on this issue, we will get a CFP in place for website redesign, so we can we'll leave it relatively open. And I don't think we have to decide what the exact agenda is yet. Ahmad, you're muted if you're trying to talk right now, I think.
Yeah. Ahmad, are you, if you're speaking with us, you're muted? Maybe he can't hear.
You guys broke up for a minute there.
It looked like you were trying to talk and you were muted. So, yeah. So we'll get a. Oh, sorry. Go for it, Ahmad.
Nothing. I think the video broke for a moment. I was trying to.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So we'll get a CFP in place and carve out a slot for website redesign at the Collab Summit. That's all I was trying to say. Anything else to add on number 155 before we move on? Take the silence as a resounding no.
Can we remove the label?
Yes, we will remove the label. We will update when, yeah, thank you. Hold me to that. I'm so bad at removing labels as we go. Resolution and meeting, we'll submit CFP. Manil, can you help me out and at least get the issue opened up or the CFP submitted with just a bunch of placeholder content?
Yeah, totally. Do we, before the next meeting, so within 2 weeks, eh?
Yes, that would be awesome.
Let's do that. 2 weeks is plenty.
Beautiful.
We could continue discussing it in here. I suppose we could link to the notes from here, and then if anyone wants to drop more ideas, you can feel free to do that here. It doesn't just have to be ideas from this meeting.
Well, yeah.
Awesome. Moving right along. I'm gonna kind of roll up the next 2 issues into the same comment. So this is issue number 61 and 157 in website redesign. Dropping links in here. So we were supposed to meet our brand spanking new designer today in this meeting, but unfortunately our design team turns out had an all hands at this time at LinkedIn. So for those who don't know, issue number 157 was opened up by Oscar Gonzalez. He's a designer who works with me on the design systems team at LinkedIn. He's an awesome guy, and he is psyched to help out with website redesign, which, go figure, when you're redesigning a website, it helps to have a designer. He opened up an issue that's kind of in the same spirit as issue number 61. We had wanted to do a bunch of user feedback and a kind of a documentation survey for a while. Turns out the user feedback group is a little low capacity right now. They're busy with other things, so it got kicked back to us to do. Oscar, when I mentioned him the opportunity to ask the community about what they want in a website or what they enjoy and dislike about other documentation websites elsewhere on the web as inspiration for him, got really excited. So he took a stab at just getting a Google Doc in place for collecting stuff that this group specifically likes and dislikes and would like to see in the new website or is dissatisfied with the current website. He's seen all the other preparation work or the IA design work and the wireframing work that's already been done. But he wants to roll it back and talk to this new group who was not around when we were having those initial discussions, and just make sure it's all in the same trajectory. So definitely drop any and all opinions this year. I'll pop it into the Google Doc. For those on the stream, the Google Doc's linked in issue number 157, website redesign. Drop any and all ideas in there. Feel free to use it as just like a brain dump space. And then I'm going to meet with Oscar later today or tomorrow to kind of go through it and help synthesize it. And then fingers crossed by next meeting, he's going to have mocks to come and show off, since we only have all hands once a quarter. So this is kind of a one-time fluke that he's not in the meeting. But I'd like to keep this doc to anybody in the call or on the stream right now. And after he takes a stab at working through some of the content here, we might reach out to Foundation folks and see if we can't get a more formal survey blasted out on social media through the Node accounts, which would be awesome data for him to collect. But I'm going to let him lead those data collection efforts. Yeah, that's all I really have to say on those two issues. Just kind of a heads up. But yeah, anybody have thoughts or concerns or ideas for how to make this collection process for him on the design side a bit more fluid?
Is this feedback form for us, or are we going to, circulate it in the community or whatnot?
So this feedback form, the doc is for us. Oscar wants to collect what we do and don't like across the web in documentation sites. It's going to help him guide his design execution. He actually he held up personally Gatsby as one of the documentation sites that he's really enjoyed recently. He's both a developer and a designer,
awesome.
towards design work versus development. So but he has a good understanding of the space and of open source. So it's like to have him on board. But yeah, drop in there any and all examples that it's kind of design inspiration for him as he's moving forward.
Exactly. Well, I would love to see anything more than just a download Node website. Because whenever I go into the community and I talk about Node.js, and everyone just sort of just remembers a download button.
Yep. Yeah, we're gonna have a fun choice to make coming up next of what page do we want to work on next. We have a learn page right now. There's a lot of other content that needs to go on this site. So we're gonna be bye Zeke. Yeah, we're gonna be it'll partially be guided by design, I think, by what Oscar comes up with next, but we're going to have to choose where on the site we start to focus our attention next. And I think this doc will help guide us there, help guide Oscar for where we can go next. Yeah. So if, yeah, definitely drop any and all ideas in there. If the format doesn't work out for you, just feel free to write free form as well at the bottom. We'll help synthesize it. And then if we need to go broader with the feedback, we can start blasting out to social media. Cool. So we're gonna move, I think, right along here, unless anybody has anything else to add. Moving into issues over in Node.js.dev. This is issue number 169, the navigation and section proposal. I think this was talked about briefly last time. I wasn't here last time, so I apologize if it wasn't.
Yeah, we did, and the resolution was actually that we're going to wait a bit until we gain a bit more experience what we really need, and if that proposal will cover all our needs. So we can actually remove the label and just look for it, how it will go.
Okay. Yeah, is there not to beat a dead horse, but from a technical standpoint, it does allow for more scalability? Was there a concern why we wouldn't want to execute on this now, just from a technical standpoint, or?
Well, the biggest concern was from Ahmed, because he said he have seen a lot of people messing up with YAM configs.
That's for sure.
Yeah, and we also didn't know, I mean, if that will be enough for our needs or not, or will it cover all of it? We don't really know right now what we need. It's the single thing which we need to think about is that we can't move documentations around and that we can't reorder them. But it's just an issue we didn't run into yet. And if you run into, I also don't think, honestly, that we will run into quite immediately.
This will also likely...
I think if we can just, if we can just stop on this for a while, because no one knows how the new website would be handled. If we have that, when we have that in the picture, then we can, reiterate on this and devote more development time on this without having to, address the bike shedding problem here.
Yeah, that's true. This is also probably going to be affected pretty significantly by how we do internationalization.
Exactly.
So we should loop those into the same proposal probably, just because they're going to be so related. Okay, awesome. I removed the label. We'll tackle it in the IETN meeting. Actually, do we have a?
Creating a new issue just to spin out the how we're going to consume the API for the documentation.
Okay.
And that includes ITN and now this one as well.
Awesome. Yeah, just make sure to reference the ticket so they're linked together. Yeah, awesome. Cool. So next issue on the agenda, we'll probably pull up this issue, dredge this issue up in the spin-off ITN meeting, just to talk about architecture a bit more. That'll be a real shop talk meeting. Next issue is number 206, reporting code coverage during Travis builds. So this is opened by Ollie Bostrom, and basically a proposal to add coveralls to the Travis build, which my personal response is, why not? Sounds good. Let's do it. Anybody have other tools that they prefer and would like to pitch, or should we just kind of give the green light here and see if we can't get Ollie to contribute it? Just seeing thumbs up. Cool. I will respond here real quick. It's not spell their name. After a very quick discussion on in the meeting today. There we go. Cool. Awesome. I'll remove the agenda label here, and we'll keep the conversation offline. We'll see if Ollie's interested in doing it, and if not, one of us can pick it up. Sweet. And the last issue, y'all. And then if we get through this issue with enough time, I can give a quick brain dump of my current understanding of ITN efforts, so that we can go into the next meeting with some context, which I think will probably be helpful. Cool. Last issue is number 201. This is opened up by Sagir, spin-off discussion from his PR number 125 for giving attribution in posts. Sagir, you want to give some context here?
Yeah, so basically Rich had concern around this, specifically around updating the authors variable manually, which in the eventual long run might not reflect the, I don't know, it might get out of date, or it might not reflect the actual authorship. But this is a very open and broad discussion, and it probably also will be handled by there's another issue open for getting attribution from the GitHub history.
Yeah, so I would love to migrate away from the hand managed authorship docs as well, because it is not particularly scalable.
I personally think that if we can ask Tierney to get someone from the docs team at Microsoft to join and contribute on this part, because I really love how, the current documentation on docs.microsoft.com, how they handle it. There's just small author images at the top of the article that are pulled through, GitHub. For example, here's an example article. You can take a look at contributors, and there are, GitHub account links and images from GitHub. If they can, lend that infrastructure here as an open source contribution, that would be fun.
Yeah, totally. And similarly, it's a bit of a bolder presentation, but Webpack also has a similar credits section at the bottom. I believe they're both pulled dynamically from editors, and yeah, we should be doing the same thing. I also hear the concern that the contributors list is going to get too long after a while. I'm wondering if that's an early optimization, like how many actual contributors to individual docs are we going to have, and is it going to get to the like 20, 30, 40 person range? I'm not entirely convinced that that's the case, but
totally agree. I mean, if we start appending multiple contributors to some sort of list, be it the little chat heads that Ahmad just put an example on, or just names like MDN does at the very bottom of their page, at some point we might decide to just truncate it after a certain number or a certain like time period. But I agree with you. I think that might be early.
Yeah, it's also easy to add truncation.
I think we can easily start with how MDN does it, and then move on from there, wherever. But this part is kind of exciting for contributors. It kind of invites people to contribute for whatever weird reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, I just checked out. So yeah, I just checked out Webpack. They also basically manually maintain those lists. It's actually there in the docs. So and it's been working out well for them. So I guess we could keep the current implementation as is and maybe optimize for this later.
Yeah, there's certainly value in like pulling from Git history, so we don't have to hand manage a whole bunch of stuff. But the Git history solution also poses its own problems, because all sorts of weird stuff can happen to Git history for a file.
Well,
what was that?
Well, I just wanted to mention is, I mean, I'm actually quite happy with the way GitHub does it. I mean, when you look at the React README page, it's almost 50 contributors, and I don't know, they listed a couple of them, and then just with a link and others, and then you get a list. Because I don't see there's a way to deal with, I don't know, a list of 100 contributors.
Is it
the and others at the top there? Yeah.
Just
probably
like
it is.
Here at the top.
I'm thinking we could have a two-step solution, a partial solution, which is a tweak of what our existing process is, and long-term solution, which involves an automatic process. But in the short term, we might make it part of our convention that if anyone does submit a PR and they do follow a certain PR process, that process outlines that, hey, you should also add your name to this particular part of it if you're making a tweak to the docs. And if we see that they don't in the review process, we suggest that they do that and modify their PR before we merge it in.
Yeah. And judging from the really large influx of documentation-specific RBs we've had, or sorry, PRs we've had. I'm pretty sure it'll be manageable, at least in the short term, to at least manage it.
One thing here is quite apparent from Webpack docs that I didn't see earlier, is that the manual entries of contributors are 14, whereas actually there are 24 in one particular file that I'm looking at. So definitely moving towards an automated solution might be a better idea. After looking at, I think Node documentation would have much bigger scale than what Webpack has right now. And if they are like 60% behind on keeping up the manual entries, then we might, think about automating it as well.
Yeah, something else I'd love to get is the actual like Gravatar image or some type of profile image added. And so it's possible that our automated solution, like unless you use the same email you signed up for like Gravatar with in your Git commits, like it's likely that we won't be able to grab image data for those folks. So it's possible that like the manual solution will, if you enter in your name manually, you can provide a URL for your profile image, and everybody else we pull automatically. We can merge the two lists, and only the manual entries actually get the profile image in there. Everybody else is just like a little ghost image of a contributor or plain text or something.
Actually, as I implemented that, I also tried to pull the images from GitHub API.
Yeah.
But the problem was just the API limits. We just got limited about 60 calls or something, and we need to have an API key and stuff. And I just didn't want to make it overcomplicated and just does the job. And we should definitely, consider how are we going to do it statically. I mean, pull all the images before building the page, because I mean we can't, I guess, afford it to send thousands of requests to GitHub for every image.
So Sagir just dropped a link in the chat. Turns out you can do github.com/username.png and it'll redirect to the user image.
I'm not sure if there are any API limits there.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's awesome.
Because it is being served from the GitHub user content domain they have.
Yeah, that should be just fine. And we can get that. Do we get GitHub username from the Git history, or does that take an API call as well? Because
that's an API call, yes.
Yeah, we have email address from the Git history. If they have it configured right.
So if you access it in guest mode, the rate limit is 60 requests per hour. But if you add a scope token, you can boost it to 5,000 requests per hour. But maybe we could also ask for like a better,
Yeah, we can get like the Node project has an API. We can get API tokens for the Node project here, specifically during production builds. So like I think we were talking about this a little bit before. In dev mode, like you might be limited, and we'd have to have a good fallback in dev mode. But for the production builds, we can inject an API key for Node.
Or probably we could build a GitHub action here. I don't know, that could do it automatically for every PR. So instead of doing it for every entire build, we could just take care of one single PR and the vector documents through a GitHub action, just like we are doing with our GCP run builds.
But then one big limitation for GitHub Actions is the change run event is triggered only for PRs originating from our origin, not from external folks.
I don't know.
So if somebody actually, that might not work in its current form. Yeah, Adam, go ahead. Sorry for.
I was looking at what.
So, Garrett, do you mean by external folks people who are not part of the org?
yeah, people who have forked our repo and then they raise a PR from their own fork. FORK, not FOLK. Sorry.
Cool. Okay. It's good to know.
Yeah. The nice thing about reserving profile images, or actually having user images for just like the hand registered members. So if we go with both solutions, like one, we pull GitHub history, we can get just the list of names. And the other, we have that kind of hand curated maintainers list. The hand curated maintainers list can point to actual like static content URL on GitHub that we can link to. So like it's on you to provide your image if you want your face on the website, because there might be folks who don't want their profile image floating around on the internet either in all types of places. So the fully automatic solution may turn into a privacy issue for them. So having it be opt-in versus like, hey, if you don't want your profile, if you don't want your photo on our website, don't contribute to the docs. Like that may be both a more maintainable option and a more user-friendly option at the end of the day. Yeah. So that means probably storing it.
You just overcomplicated everything.
I agree on that.
I was thinking about the scale of this thing, and all of a sudden it's a privacy issue, and I think, okay.
Yep. So, do we have a path forward, or someone interested in poking at a solution, or are we choosing to leave it as is for now?
I would just leave it right now because I guess we are too far away from that being a problem.
Yeah, I would love to see profile images on there, but I don't know why that's such a hard problem. We probably need to store it in a format different than front matter for that. But
actually, we can. I mean, what we can do, in my opinion, which is not really big effort, is I didn't know that you can get the profile images that way, like just Ahmed text or Sagir. We can go ahead and implement that easily instead of username, just the profile images. I think that it's just, I mean, we have the usernames anyways.
Yeah. Never mind, you're 100% right. Let's do that. Cool.
Agree on that.
So we're gonna keep it in front matter, just pull GitHub usernames, and we're gonna add a little profile image next to all the usernames that are currently on the website.
I think adding an image with a GitHub link to their profile, just like Microsoft Docs does it, with the title of the username, title attribute.
Who wants to claim it?
Well, I can take a stab on that, but I mean, we also first need to check, of course, if that link has any sorts of limitations. I hope not.
We'll find out pretty quickly if it does.
Yes. well, probably not right now because we don't really have that many people standing in the list, front metal data, but we can just run a loop and see.
We can actually.
Yeah, what I'm aware of is Webpack and React.js are actually using it quite successfully.
I think
they do it in the same way.
I think we could just run a loop with curl and load test it.
And then have your personal IP blocked by GitHub security. It'd be great.
Any takers?
I didn't say DDoS, just to make it sure.
If you're listening, GitHub, we apologize. Okay, cool. Owner, we'll kick that to you. I think there's another issue open for like, I believe it's listed as like attribution phase 2, where we wanted to pull from GitHub. I may repurpose that issue since it sounds like the GitHub solution is overly complicated, like we might nix that, and I might just repurpose that ticket for just getting profile photos on there. So I'll do that admin work when I'm off the call and sign it over to you.
Honestly, I will keep that issue, which is signed. I mean that version 2 issue. I would just keep that open a new one, or it's just a small enhancement, and then be good, I guess.
Okay. That I can do. I'll do that after the call. For a little bit of admin work. Cool. That's a good resolution. I like it. That's everything on our agenda. We have 8 minutes left. I can either give a quick brain dump of the current state of I8N to my knowledge as of like 8 months ago, which I think is pretty quick, or we can give you all 8 minutes back.
Well, actually, we can maybe think about or brainstorm about what sort of issues we can prepare for the summit for people for a workshop, if we're going to do that at all.
Even better. That might be a better use of time. Yeah, so like getting started style tickets for the workshop.
Just small things which you can, I mean, which a professional developer would solve maybe in 20 minutes. So that people don't get frustrated and some sort of, well, I don't know, have some sort of feeling of success, and they did something useful, because that's what motivates people.
That's very true.
A lot of our CSS is just plain CSS. That could actually be ported over to Immersion, and also maybe refactored in the process. I mean, that could be a nice getting started item.
Sorry about that. That was a side effect of me frantically getting a page looking pretty in half a day. So yeah, that's a refactor that needs some help.
Yeah.
Maybe we can
out ideas on issues.
Maybe we can open an umbrella issue to collect a couple of ideas on that.
Definitely can. Yeah, I'll get that opened.
Cool.
Question. Nifty. Cool. Well, I got a whole slew of tickets to open on the repo now. So, awesome. Anything else anybody wants to bring up before we call it a meeting?
Yeah, I remember there being some effort being put in by the RunKit folks earlier. I was missing in action for a while, for a couple of months, so I don't really know what happened to that.
Yeah, unfortunately, the relationship didn't quite work out. I don't think we'll be getting support moving forward. But we have the designer, my friend from LinkedIn, who works with me on the design systems team, who I'm psyched to be getting help with. And we've been getting limited support from Glitch as well, so we can re-engage with the Glitch folks too, as we keep playing with the need for embeddable code as well. So where we're at right now.
On the subject of when we're going to design the data contract and loop in the I8N folks, does everyone, I just want to get a show of who wants to be pinged for that one, then I can ping you on the issue. Otherwise, you can decide later. But I don't think everyone's handles are in the meeting minutes. So if you'd like to drop them there, I can pull them off there. But I think I'll just, unless anyone has objections, I'll just tag everyone in the meeting whose handles I can find in the meeting minutes.
Awesome. Yeah, and please put your handle in the meeting minutes. It's how we know you attended. We actually have a tool that goes in and scrapes all the meeting minutes and makes like an attendance sheet for meetings across the Node project. So it does actually matter.
Yeah, it helps us measuring to a certain extent.
Yeah,
one metric.
Awesome. I know I'm certainly interested in being thinking about.
Adam, can you repeat that last part?
Oh, we have a tool that goes through and crawls all the meeting minutes across the repos in the Node project and makes an attendance sheet for each working group over the weeks. God, what is it? I think it's Node.js participants dot Heroku.
Okay, so you have to list down your name. You have to list down your name with your GitHub username, I guess.
Yeah. So it needs to be under the I dropped the Google Docs link in the chat there. And there's always a participants or a present section. And it looks for anything that looks like a GitHub handle underneath that header and pulls them out and marks as present. These always get PR'd into the main repo under the docs folder. So they're just hanging out as markdown. And I believe once a day, this tool crawls all the repos and reparses the docs folder for new meeting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's also a place where you can go help contribute. I think it hasn't been touched in months. Myself and one other person hacked it together in a day or so. So it has a lot of room for improvement. Yeah, Manil dropped a link to it. It's nodejs-participation.herokuapp.com. Yeah.
Can you have a link to the repo as well?
The repo is github.com/ yes. Oh God, what's it?
Is it in the Node.js org, Adam, the tool?
I'm wondering that now. I'm questioning if I actually transferred that over. It might still be under my personal personal GitHub account.
All of this data that the Node.js participation Heroku link, this data is being pulled off of through that documentation we do via docs link.
Yep. So every single Node working group or committee, you can see it in the community repo. I just pasted a link. Has that meetings folder, which just is this long list of every meeting minute. And so this tool will go and crawl that folder, I think, once a day and pull out attendance from certain repos across the entire org. I believe that repo list is hard coded, which is why you only see a smaller number of them in there. This could easily be expanded out to other working groups. But yeah, it's a nifty tool that was hacked together in a day that could use some TLC if someone's looking for a fun side project.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I put a link. I just realized it's not actually moved out to the Node repo quite yet. It's still under my personal GitHub. That's now officially on my list to go fix. So we'll, but feel free to contribute to that repo that I linked to for folks on the stream. It's github.com/amiller-gh/nodejs-participation. But yeah, that's what the attendance actually feeds into.
Yes, hold on, please.
What was that?
Okay, that's true.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's time. We're at 10 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream, barring any other pressing issues. So, bye everybody on the stream.